Today I want to talk about Dead Skin Mask by Thomas Godfrey, and if you're familiar with this channel, you'll know I've already reviewed one of Thomas Godfrey's books. It's called All Hail the Carrion King, and I'll link that down below. Now before we begin, I want to state very clearly that being critical of someone's work is not the same as being critical of the person. Throughout this review, I'm going to use the phrase he and him, and I want to make it perfectly clear I am describing the narrator of the book, not the author who is telling the story from the narrator's perspective. In the vein of full disclosure, the author did send me an electronic copy of the book in exchange for my fair review, and I purchased a copy of the book, a physical copy of the book, because I loved his first book so much, I assumed I was going to like this one. And of course we have to do the obligatory YouTube thing. Please make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I have a feeling this video is going to get demonetized, so maybe if you stick around, I'll throw up something that YouTube actually likes. Now that that's out of the way, I just want to say out front, I absolutely love Thomas Godfrey's writing style. I love the word choice that he uses. I love the way he uses language. I think that his prose is absolutely poetic. That being said, his writing style is the only redeeming quality that I found in this book. I really, really disliked it. I disliked everything about it. I disliked the narrator, I disliked the subject matter, I disliked the way that it was delivered, I disliked the content, I disliked literally everything about the book except for Thomas Godfrey's beautiful writing style. The whole thing reads like a teen shooter's manifesto. Every single page, from the first to the last, is absolutely chock full of teen melodrama and the narrator whining about how he's so special and everybody around him is just too stupid to realize it, and he's gonna show them all. He is absolutely insufferable. And I just want to make sure I'm absolutely clear. It is not the gore or torture porn type aspects of the book that bother me. I've read other books like that. They don't bother me at all. I'm a big fan of Clive Barker. It is the fact that the narrator is a whiny bitch baby. It's almost like if Marvin, the depressed robot from Hitchhiker's Guide, was given an entire novel to just spout all of his inner monologue. It is page after page after page of woe is me, I'm so special, why doesn't anybody understand me drivel. It is so melodramatic and so over the top full of teen angst, it is absolutely unreadable. The only saving aspect of this book is the fact that the author writes well. So I guess at this point we should talk about the plot, and to be honest, there isn't much of one. Dead Skin Mask is basically page after page of ramblings of a disenfranchised teenage boy, and he hates the world because he thinks the world hates him, and in reality nobody really cares. But once he comes to that realization, rather than taking his ego down a peg like it should, it just fills him with righteous indignation, and he just wants to destroy it all. At one point, he even compares himself to Nero, saying that he hopes he lives long enough to play the fiddle while he watches the world burn. The difference is, Nero was an emperor, and Mortimer Aldrichson is a grocery store stock boy. Nobody knows he exists, and even if they did, they wouldn't care. So this grocery store clerk, Mortimer Aldrichson, fancies himself a writer, and he's written a book. It's called Dead Skin Mask. He submitted it to multiple literary agents, and they have all rejected him with form letters, which is all part of the process, and it's all very meta. The problem is, Mortimer takes this as a personal affront. He thinks that they're just too stupid to recognize his genius, and he is filled with rage at every rejection. So Mortimer decides to break up the monotony of restocking store shelves and submitting to agents and getting the inevitable rejections because his work's just not good enough, but he can't see it, and he decides to go and buy a book from a used bookstore. And when he gets there, the bookstore has been closed down, and instead of acting like a normal human being, Mortimer crumples into the street and cries like a baby. Because it's basically the only outlet he's given himself, so all of this pent-up sorrow and rage has nowhere to go. So what does he decide to do? He goes and kills a homeless man. Literally rips the guy's face off in the middle of the street. He hides the body in a half-empty garbage bag and sticks it in a dumpster, and then spends the next 12 hours freaking out that he's gonna get caught. And then garbage day comes, and he realizes nobody's noticed, or if they have, they don't care, and instead of being worried or heartbroken that he's done something awful, he starts fantasizing about doing it again, and that he is the only sane man in the hellscape in which he lives. On rare occasions, he does recognize that he's just as bad as everyone else, but he chalks that up to him being a cuckoo in a bird's nest, and he's just that special. So he's caught up in this fantasy of himself being this avenging angel, and he starts to fantasize about killing all of these other people that he interacts with. The price checker girl at the grocery store where he works, who is literally the only person who has ever been anything other than surface nice to him. His boss, his other coworkers, random people he passes on the street, other homeless people he passes on the street. So he starts to fantasize that he is the ruler of this, like, midnight domain, because, you know, it's dark when he goes to work, and he shuffles around in the twilight hours, and he decides that he is this thing that is not human, this otherworldly thing, this cuckoo in a bird's nest, and that he has the right and responsibility to cleanse the nest of all of the other eggs. So he gets it in his head that he's this creature of the night, and he's ridding the city of sinners by preying on these hapless people who can't really defend themselves. And in reality, he's just an impotent young man who can't seem to make anything of himself and is taking his rage out on other people. So he kills another dude, and that just feeds his ego even more, and eventually Mortimer decides that he's gonna show them all and make one big final statement and go out in a blaze of glory. So he decides to kill the price checker girl at the grocery store, and then he's gonna off himself, and he finally agrees to go out with her. She's been asking him out since, you know, he started working there, and finally he agrees to go out with her, and he plans to drag her into a back alley and kill her, but at the last minute he realizes, like, oh, she's not that bad, and he winds up killing a stockbroker instead, dumps the body in the dumpster, lights it on fire, and then runs home. And then he runs away and hides and offs himself, thinking the entire time that he's made this big statement, and in reality, nobody knows what he's done, because the first guy that died, nobody realized he was dead. The second one got chalked up to a suicide or an accidental death because the guy was drunk and fell in the river. And the third guy he lit on fire. Shortly afterwards he killed himself, and nobody's going to make the connection until they find his body, in which case nobody's going to care. They're just going to think he's insane. So here's the real problem I have with the book. A lot of the stuff that Mortimer says is true. All of us have, at some point in our lives, felt disenfranchised. All of us have felt separate or other or like we don't belong. And all of us, beyond a certain age, have come to realize how little we actually matter to the people outside our immediate family. How little people care beyond the few fleeting surface niceties of social interaction. Everyone knows that to our corporate overlords, we're just tiny cogs in a great money-making machine, entirely expendable, disposable, and forgotten. There is a way to deliver that information, and this isn't it. The narrator's delivery was so unbearably egocentric, so obnoxiously, pompously preachy, that the entire point is missed. Now, this author does tend to make social commentary in books. All Hail the Carrion King has some pretty scathing remarks about modern society and where we're all headed. So maybe the difference is subtlety, which Dead Skin Mask completely lacks. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about this. As far as I'm concerned, this book is borderline unreadable. I hated every minute of it. If you're looking for something that's actually good, written by the same author, go read All Hail the Carrion King. It covers a lot of the same subject matter, but in a much more nuanced way. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and of course if you like the way that I present information, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below. You can find all of my social media contacts in the description, and of course if you want to keep up with me and the progress I'm making on my current novel, you can do that at effywritesbooks.com. Thank you so much for watching, have an excellent day, and I'll see you next time.